The blackest eyes. The devil's eyes.
Hail to the king, baby.
Boy! The plan is, kill the brain, and you kill the ghoul.
Welcome to hell.
I said, I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just gonna bash your brains.
Welcome to prime time.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Welcome to Podcast in the Backseat with your host, Wayne Alexander, and...
the dreaded Matthew Hutton. Welcome to video.
Oh, so many murders. Did you have to kill them all?
I was hungry.
Oh, it's one of my favourite lines from Richard Pryor, is Live on Sunset Boulevard. Because I think to this day still one of the, he's one of the gold standards for comedy. Yeah. And he talks about a guy called J-Bo Walker, because he meets him in, I think it's in San Quentin prison, whenever they're filming, is it Stir Crazy or Still Crazy? I think it's Stir Crazy.
Yeah.
Or it's him and Gene Wilder in prison. And he meets this guy called J-Bo Walker. And I think he's like, why? He's like, murder, kidnapped 3 times. He's getting triple life. And he going... So he gets that idea, why, I just can't get this shit right. And the other bit that he follows up with is, why did you kill everybody in the house? Why did you kill everybody in the house? To which he replies with, well, they was there.
No, I've got a frog, I'm sorry. No, I love him. He's class.
Makes me think of, is it Strangers?
Oh,
Isn't it a film?
Yeah.
Yeah. When they go, why did you come? Because you were home.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
Why did you terrorise us? Because you were there. That's it. It's your own fault for being in the house. So tough. You know what? You know what? I walked into that one.
Yeah.
Egg, face, meet each other.
That reminds me of we've had another suggestion for a movie, and we will get round to it. It was the Bruce Willis one. What was it again? It was
Death Becomes Her. Death
Becomes Her. Yes, and this is someone that I do know from work who really likes the show, which is awesome, and I thank her for listening. I haven't got her permission yet to say her name, so I won't say it just yet. But she is also trying to do her own podcast. And I promised that.
Well, let's torpedo this snake.
The snake. But no, what she wants to do is a true crime one more than anything, and it's going to be true crime with that links to movies. So I said, if you want, I'm happy to do guest spots. I'm sure you might even too, if you'd like to, sexy co-host.
And then we'll sabotage it.
No, absolutely, yeah. We'll just go in and just say cunt over and over again, which we're allowed to do in this show, obviously.
Seisha's incredibly right-leaning. Feels like the homeless should be chopped up and fed to dogs.
Well, she does, so no. But no,
we're just expressing her opinions. We're not saying that we agree with her. We're just saying that that's what she said. If she is listening, we're very, very sorry. But we will destroy you.
We will crush your show. But no, that was it. She was talking about true crime, and because I don't think The Strangers is based on a true crime thing, but it's that sort of thing that can happen, like home invasion.
I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't. I wouldn't be surprised if it was true.
There'll be elements, definitely.
Yeah. It makes us think of was it Futurama, the Scary Door episode, which is clearly a send up of the Twilight Zone.
You take a left, brick wall. No.
For sure, this you may have just walked through the Scary Door.
The Scary Door.
It's Rod Serling, isn't it?
Yeah. But she mentioned oh, go on, sorry.
I was just going to say the best bit is that they're going, I've mixed all the DNA from the most dangerous animals, great white shark, blah blah blah, going. And they go and see what have made the greatest killer ever, and the man just walks into the tube. Turns out it's man. It's just...
That's kind of how they are, though. So they're great.
Yeah.
But no, what she wanted to do was she was looking at movies that were based on like real killers, so you'll have Ed Gein or that sort of thing. And there was one of them that I suggested, and I heard about this, and I don't know if you know of it at all as well, because I'm not too clued up on the true crime that much. But there was one guy with what you were saying about The Strangers there. You were home. That in itself's terrifying when there's no motive. The motive is something as easy as they were literally home. This one was, this guy would go around and gas people through their letterboxes, and when he got caught, they asked him, why'd you do it? And he just looked at the camera and said, because I'm fucking insane. That's terrifying. Like, I watch horror, I love horror, and I laugh when people die in horror films, but that sort of thing shakes you to the core. Like,
You know what that reminds me of? I don't know whether it's been inspired by it, so I think I've told you to watch it. I don't think you've had the opportunity yet. It's thrown so many suggestions your way. So one of them is Alexandre Aja did Switchblade Romance. So he went under Direct Mirrors. He did the reboot or the reframing of Piranha. He did. It's a film coming out quite very soon on Netflix called Oxygen. He's got quite an eclectic series of movies, but quite a lot of his movies that he do are quite uncompromising. They don't fuck around. But Switchblade Romance, it's just basically this mad French trucker just turns up and fucking just starts killing everybody in this farmhouse, and you get no indication as to why it happens. All you know, not that this ruins the story of the movie. There's a bit where he's like sort of like emoting, like he's enjoying himself, and you just think maybe he's just pleasuring himself, as you do
after a nice murder.
In some sort of like northern Brittany countryside estate with long, beautiful grass. You think, oh, this guy's a trucker, it's quite a solitary life, and he's just decided he's just going to fire out a couple of finger children. He's just going to, make the beat, making sweet, passionate love to himself. But it turns out the camera then pans back a little bit, and he just chucks this severed human head out the window of the car and just going. I think it's whenever I saw that bit and going, you what?
Nope.
Son of a bitch, I'm in.
Do I? Oh god. But yeah, I want to.
So at that point, I had to take my pants down and just make it a more interactive experience.
It's just like, oh no,
motherfucker read my mind.
It's like when you follow along on Withnail and I and drink everything that Withnail drinks. You do everything the killer does, and it pans back with the head, and you're like, oh, I can't keep up with that. You son of a bitch. God. I tried that drinking game once on Withnail and I, and you got to the lighter fluid, and I just thought, no, I don't want to die. God.
I think the best bit is that where he wants to. There's two. It's going, oh, did you have a crack at the mix? Did you? And then the other one was that where he thinks to procure a child. And the guy, you're like, I don't know what he's talking about here, but would you like to know more? I do. And you come on, tell me what he's at.
Yeah.
The really interesting fact about that movie is Richard E. Grant. His body doesn't produce the enzyme in order to be able to metabolize alcohol.
Oh, really?
So he's never been drunk. So apparently him and the director had to spend quite a considerable amount of time just firing drink into him. And then even though he was being sick, they had to keep on getting to the point where he'd be like, you need to know what it's like to feel drunk. You need to know what it's like to feel hungover. So Richard E. Grant, why he apparently doesn't fucking age. Like, he looks exactly the same as he did whenever he did like Withnail and I and like Hudson Hawk, which I think is a massively underappreciated comedy action film from I think it's the 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, it must be.
But that's it. It's just because he doesn't drink.
He honestly, he should have. Everybody wanted him to be the Doctor ages and ages ago, and they've ruined that now because he's appeared now as a villain. But he would have been fucking amazing. Like you say, he doesn't age, so that's exactly the type of person that you want. And the one that they did with the And I character, I forget his name.
McGann. Is it Paul McGann?
Yeah, he's such an incredible Doctor. Like, I'm not going to go into Doctor Who because on the other show that I do, I had a massive rant about it. Don't listen, it's shite.
I'd love. Obviously, it's never going to happen. Like, there's going to be a crossover between The Simpsons and Doctor Who. I would like to see Dr. Nick Riviera become the Doctor.
Hi, every darling.
All the villains would just kill themselves because just they're so annoyed by his presence.
I remember I did a couple of radio sketch shows when I was going through uni and stuff, and they got quite popular. And I did a Geordie Doctor Who called Doctor Who because that was really clever. But the best episode, the one that everybody loved it, was the Ciderman. So basically, he was a whiskey drinking angry time lord from the planet of Goateed, who would glass people. He had a sonic pint glass, so he'd glass cidermen, which were basically people who just drank cider because he thought they were shirt tuckers. That was his catchphrase. But the smartest one I ever come up with that nobody seemed to react to was Davros was in it, but he was called Dave Ross, and he's just
Dave Ross.
a cripple that he didn't like, so he classes Dave Ross. I got hate mail for that one. I don't know why. And the Weeping Angel of the North did well as well, but people would actually write
that's
in.
very clever.
Yeah, people. That one basically was, if you were to drink in its presence, it would beat you up and steal your money. That was it. I don't know why. I don't know. It was just. So I think I was drunk when I wrote it, but you would get fan mail. I'd get loads of like emails in, like, "Oh, tell Doctor Who he's mint. I want to."
Doctor Who.
I used to do all of the voices, so
Voices.
I think he knows.
The one I thought would be hilarious. Well, having lived here, obviously, people in the northeast generally, not to overgeneralize, but tend to hard-working, hard partying, like sort of like that's the kind of like, I've worked really, really hard.
Yeah.
I'm going to go out and really enjoy myself. But obviously that gets connotations of people fighting in the streets outside a taxi rank with like a curry chip or something like that in one hand.
Yeah.
But the bit I always think of is like the Angel of the North looks like it's just somebody putting their arms out, just going, well, come on then.
Come on.
And I always envisioned Ridley Scott, who's originally from here, and his brother Tony Scott, like somebody having a go at it, and I'm just sort of slipping into Geordie, just going, you talking about, man? So we're just Harrison. So I was sitting Harrison Ford.
Harrison Ford. I don't
When he
know
started
how
giving
to
us
say
some
that.
shit, so I fucking chinned him.
Oh.
So what are we talking about today?
Yeah.
Mr. Unkind Hutton. What did you call yourself? Was it hardcore sugar cake? What was the name you gave yourself
I can't
beforehand?
remember. It was the Dreaded or Uncouth.
The Dreaded. That's what it was.
Yeah.
all those smotherings. It was a bloodless coup.
Yeah, the show this week, it's another chat show, and what we're doing is we're looking at horror movie franchises, but specifically the ones that break the mold almost, so the ones that stand out for being different, having a different story element or different tone shift. Because there's a few of them that you might even argue on the list that I made, and as you mentioned off record, it could even be a two-parter. There's so many, and I didn't expect there to be that many. When I sat and thought about it, I made this whole list, which I'm very surprised with. But I don't know if you've got any examples you wanted to start the ball rolling with.
Yeah, so like my sort of brief in my head was ideas like you said, ones that are changing like tone. The ones I sort of think looked at was like almost like the changed genre or style of genre.
Yeah.
So the first one that jumped into my head was Terminator.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah.
So Terminator starts off as a straight up, almost like a high concept sci-fi slasher.
Yeah.
But it's less you're going after a load of people. You're just unfortunate. You just happen to be Chris and Sarah Connor, and this Austrian giant decides that he's going to go around and just fucking blast you away.
With his Uzi 9mm.
With the no laser cannons, that's it. They haven't been invented yet. But yeah, it was just just that whole idea that it starts off as the initial ones like a cat and mouse. You've got Michael Biehn, fucking steadfast Cameron alumnus, whatever you want to call it, and Linda Hamilton. Is that the name?
Yeah.
I got it right, didn't I? I did. I'll listen back to this and I'll kick myself.
It is. Yeah.
Just sitting on it, I immediately didn't get it. I think it's because my brain's automatically transported straight to what's it called? They did a much maligned horror film which I've never watched. I think it's called Bermuda Triangle. Bermuda Tentacle, I think it's called. It's Bermuda Tentacle. So Linda Hamilton's like the commander of some sort of like sea craft, schooner, ship, boat, dinghy thing, fighting this tentacle that just emerges out of the Bermuda Triangle. I don't know what. Anyway, so cat and mouse robot. You don't kind of realise it's a full-blown robot until he starts doing that self-ocular surgery, which is fucking creepy.
Yeah.
And then in the second one just shifts straight into like action movie with horror elements. But it's almost like another cat and mouse game, but it's just a different shift. It's more high-end action. It's big set pieces, and it's proper tense the whole way through both of them.
Yeah.
I personally prefer Terminator because I wanted it more straight up horror. And then the second one, obviously, that in order to try and not diminish the other one or try and retread the initial one too much, it goes down the route of like more fantastical, more sort of like, and it changes the villain as well, which fucks with you, which is really, really clever. But yeah, that was the first one. I thought, I would argue that Terminator and Terminator 2 are horror and then action with horror elements.
Yeah. Plus, arguably 1 and 2 stand alone in as much as 3 onwards are unwatchable. So if you really want to... I've never seen them. I have.
Do you know what? The thing is, the third one I had such... I think it was such high hopes for, because I really like the director Jonathan Mostow. I thought, all right, we'll do a different thing with it, you know, and sort of like
the
try and do it. I think it was the comedy, and I think maybe that's what they tried to do to differentiate itself from 3. Do 3 from 1 and 2 is go a different direction again. It's just the bit where he puts the hand up to say talk to the hand. I think it's at that point I watched the movie and just sort of like, all right, okay, this isn't going to be as sort of like scary or whatever. I think it was like a 12 or a PG or whatever.
Sunglasses on.
Yeah, exactly, because he's got all the clothes from a strip club, and I think that movie itself, or that scene, could have been handled entirely differently and still stay within the not the confines, but like the framework that the first 2 kind of set up. We kind of like a little bit of a wry grin. All right, I see what's happened here. You know, kind of changed since the last one. But anybody wanting to do a sequel to either of those 2 that's not the original director and maybe not the original writer, but it's got that sort of very iconic music. Like I'm just hearing it in my head now, and I've not watched either film for like a couple of years.
Yeah.
But did you prefer 1 or 2?
Oh, I preferred 1. It was a bit like, and we're going to go into it because it'll probably be the first one I'll mention. It was a bit like Alien to Aliens. I prefer part 1 because it's more horror. Where part 2, and again, it's kind of a segue, but I want to mention one last thing on Terminator. Salvation is a bit of a tone shift as well. Yeah, it is. I'd agree. Set in the future. So that one, because I went to see that the pictures even. I quite enjoyed that one. I think in terms of
me
sequel,
too.
It was solid.
It's sort of a prequel sequel. It's a strange one because it takes place after the first one, but also kind of takes place before the other one as well.
Yeah, before they send them back, but after they've already sent them back.
It's your kids, Marty. It's your kids.
Yeah. But again, I suppose it's a nice segue. Alien to Aliens as well. Yeah. Massive tone shift, but both solid movies. I've always preferred part 1 though.
But two is just fucking like, all right, we've got a haunted. I think my friend Callie, if he ever does listen to this, he probably won't, you bastard. But he described it to me as a haunted house movie in space. And I'm going, yeah, I get that. I get that whole idea. You're going, what's scarier than being in a haunted house? Being in a haunted house where you can't leave the house because outside the house is space, which is death wrapped in silence and darkness.
Yeah, true. But no,
you know what's outside?
The alien could appear
no
anywhere.
Oxygen.
Literal freezing within seconds. No oxygen. It's just but that's why the Thing works so well as well, though, because you're stuck in a confined, very claustrophobic area with your friends who may not be your friends. If you go outside, you'll just freeze to death. So that sort of format is great for horror. Space is beautiful for it, and Alien does it a lot of justice. Part 2, it doesn't take away from it because I love part 2. But when you see, is it LV-42 or 420 or something?
It's not 246. It's 246. LV-246. 246,
yeah.
Because it's or is it? Because it's the 26th of April in America, and that's what's.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because that's actually the anniversary, wasn't it?
LV-246. Oh, so 426. Sorry, because it's April 26th. Because it's that, and not to be disparaging towards any American listeners we have, it's day, month, and year. But then if you're in America, day, month, and year, because people must learn.
Well, in Japan, it's year, month, then day, so they do it literally.
But that kind of makes more sense because it's the bigger one, working your way down to the smaller one. So it's year, month, day, rather than all right. We'll start with the month, the middle one, The smallest one and then the largest one.
But no, Alien, it's a good movie. I just feel as though, like, if they had a shotgun and stuff, and I love the game, and I will go on about it because it's probably my favourite game, but Alien Isolation, which is kind of the in-between part 1 and 2. So you play as Amanda Ripley, looking for Ellen Ripley. Now you get a shotgun, you get a couple of weapons, they're completely ineffective. Whereas in Aliens, they look a lot more, well, very easy to kill in comparison. Where part 1, they like set fires off, they try to attack it as much as they can, they haven't really got any weapons. But it has no effect at all. And it looks like something, especially when Ash describes how perfect it is in terms of a killing machine. It looked like if you had a weapon, it would be pretty much ineffective. Especially with the acid, which does change. Because the acid in the first one melts through like 2 floors in a couple of seconds. In part 2, one of them pins, I don't know how, pins an alien to the wall using a foot. This is Vasquez, I think. Shoots it with a handgun, gets a bit of acid on her leg, and she's just a bit like, that hurts. It would have melted to the bone within seconds. Like, you're a lot less dense than the metal floor of a spaceship. But there was a funny thing that my partner, actually, because I watched Alien and Aliens recently because of my birthday.
Happy birthday to yourself.
I aged, it was disgusting. But no, she mentioned kind of an odd thing about it, because you never really think about it. The facehugger in itself is a different entity entirely to what we would call the alien. The facehugger is the alien when you think about it as well. So it's born to then also impregnate and give birth to something else. So it dies. I love the Alien because it's such a weird. It's the most alien in a. Maybe The Thing is the next one, but
if you were to try and transplant it this way,
yeah.
If you were to try and like move it over to the human element, right? A mother gives birth to a small baby, or like a weird fucking crawling thing that then goes and impregnates anybody. It doesn't differentiate between man or woman or anything else. Gets them pregnant, and then I believe immediately dies afterwards. Is that right?
Yeah. It just after.
All right. So you
off.
literally you're basically just some horn dog decided to face fuck somebody to get them pregnant, and then the other one, the alien, this perfect machine. I suppose what makes it more deadly is the fact that it's not driven by multiplication. It's not driven by sexual desire. Not to sit and try and sexualize it in any way, shape, or form. It's just a case of
it is.
They go out to but they don't go out and impregnate anything. They don't
Yeah.
go out to mate and get with other aliens. They literally go out to colonize and kill and everything else. Basically, probably just lay waste in order to make room for a queen, who then just spits out more eggs and more facehuggers and then more aliens. It just fucking goes on and on and on. It's fucking terrifying.
The queen's an anomaly when you think about it as well. So a facehugger has to then impregnate someone else. It pops out and is a queen. It jumps out, has no desire to recreate, but it does because it then starts to plant egg. The queen is an anomaly, but I love it, and that's the main difference to bring it back. Here we go. Between Alien and Aliens, the alien design in Alien is the best, in my opinion. I love the smooth dome, which they wanted in Aliens apparently, but the dome kept falling off, so they just left it as ridges. But you can get away with that because it's kind of like, well, they're just from a different queen or whatever you want to call it.
And I like the whole idea that the aliens change based on what it's impregnated. Because is it in 3 where it's like a fucking Doberman or something?
It's a dog. If you watch the director's cut, it's a dead cow, which makes no sense, to be honest. But
is it not just basically a warm space for it to basically incubate and then grow?
But it acts like a dog from then on.
What could it then do then? What else could it impregnate?
Well, if you go by the NECA toys, anything. There's like snake aliens, which I don't get.
Fucking snakes.
Fucking snakes. The gorilla alien looks cool as fuck, but I think I like the xenomorph design regardless. I didn't like the neomorph design much. But the queen alien, in my opinion, the design for that is the next best. It's so beautiful. Like
it's the crowd almost, isn't it? It's almost like the sort of like what's it called? It's like a big fuck off tiara.
Yeah.
It's literally Miss Universe.
Yeah.
It's sort of going, And what question? We'd like to pose a question to the alien queen. Fucking dude,
Just that
this
heavy
fucking
breathing
kills
she does.
everybody and wins by default.
It's that scene. This because I love Alien. As I say, is my favorite. Aliens is incredible, and it's for the Queen almost entirely because the rest of the movie's amazing too. But the Queen elevates it, and it's that bit where Ripley's awesome. She sellotapes the guns together. Ripley, we've already gone on about how incredible she is, but she's there, and all you hear is that heavy breathing, and she looks up, and you look at it's like that bit from Alien where you see the alien knowing now what it looks like, sort of hanging there, but the first time you see it, you didn't know that that's what they look like, and then all of a sudden it moves, and you kind of freak out. The same thing happened with the Queen alien. Yeah, it's I love it.
It's that bit with the pipes in Alien where she's like, I'm just gonna get this ship, I'm gonna fucking leave this thing behind, you've got me and my cat. Or as I say in certain parts of the cat in Northern Ireland. Where's that cat? I haven't seen that cat in a while. What's that biscuit? You like a Kit Kat? Anyway, well, a Kit Kat, you like a credit card. What's in the car? You say, what the fuck?
Shocking.
So yeah, it's that bit where they like, she's hiding away. I go, like, how clever is the alien? Going, hey, some fucking some smooth looking parts of that ship. I wonder if I can just.
I know.
hide and seek champion, just fucking what?
The one thing I never understood about the Queen alien scene is where she's Ripley's run away. She's got Newt, gets in the elevator because it finally arrives. Then the other one opens. I always wanted them to do a little cutaway with the Queen alien sat there waiting in the lift with like music.
Just fucking hitting the button again and again.
Just hissing at
Why
herself.
doesn't it respond to urgency? Why is it coming faster? Where's the freight elevator? It's fucking
it just
penthouse.
That's the one thing I just didn't get. Like, it was like she's massive. She could just climb on the outside, but I don't know. Maybe it was because it would. I've seen the actual Queen alien was at a museum exhibit that I went to when I was a kid, and it's fucking huge.
Massive.
It is it took up the entire. It's the Hancock Museum before it became free in Newcastle, for anyone who knows. And they had like a movie theater. It was the best thing ever. There was a guy dressed as an alien smashing on a wall, and you could go in and be freaked out by that. But the real Queen alien used in Aliens was there, and because it's a solid, full body, massive.
It's like it was manned, or like it was puppeted by like a fuckload of people, wasn't it?
Oh, aye. It's
like Jim Henson's nightmare.
Yeah, no. But yeah, no, I mean, probably enough on Aliens because we've got a few that we want to touch on.
But yeah, I think what's quite good about the Alien franchise is each one kind of goes its own.
Yeah,
it can go its own fleet market. It's, you know, you can go your own way. But like Alien 3, but Alien 3, that's different again. But that the original idea for that was going to be like a wooden planet.
Yeah.
Which is fucked up if you think about it. But that's I really enjoy the director's cut.
Yeah.
But it goes a different way again. It kind of goes back to like the pared down. You don't have a lot of angry Marines helping you out. It's more like we've all shaved our domes. We've all joined this bit of a cult in space, and then, you know, which Charles Dance.
They also
turns out he's a fucked up doctor.
Yeah, they also they kind of add a human threat element in it as well for Ripley specifically, because it's a penal colony. They've never seen a woman, so there's actually a scene where she's in trouble in the way you would imagine, which was never the case in the first one. There's an android threat which they remove with Bishop, which is great. And then there's a human threat in part 3 until they realise actually we're all fucked. But part 4 changes even further again. It becomes, because it's Whedon, I think, produced it.
Whedon wrote the script for it, and then it was changed by the director Jean-Pierre Jeunet.
But it's a solid film. I enjoy it.
Yeah, I enjoy it. It's more fun. I think it's more like a space romp with also it has aliens, but they go with the route of it being CG. But there's some really interesting ideas, like sort of breathing on the keypad in order to be able to get through the door, which is quite cool.
Yeah.
You're not sitting fumbling with keys, you're just trying to get enough moisture in your body just to be able to go.
And it shows the aliens are quite smart as well, because they kill
they
one.
fucking knock each other in order to get through.
That was clever, and
Yeah.
There's some lovely bits in it, and there's a huge shift in this. Seemed to happen a lot. I noticed in this 2000 era onwards. Ripley becomes a bit more superpowered because she's sort of a hybrid. Which is cool. I get it. It's nice to see Sigourney Weaver be a total badass.
Yeah, she is. Oh, I still wouldn't fuck with her. She'd knock you, I reckon.
I know. And if
so
not, legions of fans would.
Oh yeah, you should just get them to do it for you. Series of flying monkeys, just sending them in. Fly.
I'll be there front and centre, I'm telling you.
We've covered two ones which link in quite heavily with James Cameron. What I think is quite interesting about that one, I don't know if it's intentional on his part, that in the first one, the robot, which is in the Ridley Scott Alien, the robot is the villain, and then in the sequel, the robot's the good guy, which is then Bishop.
Yeah.
But that also follows suit in Terminator, where he did both parts. He did Terminator 1 and T2. The robot's the bad guy, and then the second one, the robot's the good guy, and it's the guy that looks like the cop is the one that's the villain. I was reading an interesting thing about that, but we'll shift on afterwards. But Robert Patrick, who plays the T-1000,
liquid metal
alloy, as he says in his lovely voice. But yeah, did he train himself not to blink whenever he's firing the gun? And he basically, I think he doesn't blink throughout the course of the movie. He just it's just that focus, that laser focus that he has out. Yeah,
it's because he's a robot as well. Because Arnie gets away with it wearing glasses all the time, like the sunglasses, where he never does, which is awesome. But I like the whole idea that the guy that looks like the villain is the good guy, and the one that looks like the good guy is the villain. So I think that's quite clever. I never kind of thought about it too much until now. Yeah, it's a nice paradigm shift, definitely.
Yeah. What about what was your next one? So we've covered Alien, we've covered Terminator. What would you say your next one?
The main reason I picked this was because when I was thinking about franchise films, and I don't want to touch too much on the reviews, the ones that I know we love just yet. But obviously we love Halloween, so as soon as I thought, well, one that breaks the mold, immediately was Halloween 3. For the most obvious reasons, to be honest, that is like the perfect example of changing up something. Because originally it was Carpenter wanted it to be like an anthology series, rather than Michael Myers constantly being there. Now part 3 gets a lot of shit, to be honest with you, because Michael's not in it. I loved it. It was great.
I fucking love it. It's great, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a proper film. It's fun. It's Tom Adkins. Some kids wearing some creepy looking masks. You've got that catchy tune that's still stuck in my head from whenever I first saw it. And it's not about you, because I think you kind of started possibly earlier than I did. But I never really noticed it. I think I watched it was on BBC One or BBC Two or some other channel 2 o'clock in the morning. I couldn't sleep or wake up and put the TV on. This is how long ago it was. It was one of those TV DVD combis. Nice. It wasn't a flat screen, so one with a big rear projection type one, like a CRT type monitor. And put it on, going, what the fuck is this shit? I'm going, Halloween, and I go, okay, I'm in, and then realise at the end it's a fucking Halloween movie. Yeah. And just going what? That's the third one, but your fella with a Shatner mask isn't in it, and just going, what the? And then I looked into it a little bit more, and obviously you've told me a bit where it's based off a book.
Yeah.
But it's just loads of fun.
It's
really
based off a book
enjoy it.
Called Season of the Witch, which is I think it's called Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, which it should have always been called that, to be honest with you. And it's one of those. It is directed by John Carpenter, but he didn't take the credit for it because he wanted to help one of his friends out, Tommy Wallace, who is now a director in his own right, but he gets the director's credit for this. Which is quite odd because obviously Tommy Doyle and Lindsay Wallace are the kids in part 1. That's why he did it. Yeah, you see what it is. But Tommy Wallace technically gets the directing credit, but it was actually Carpenter who did it and wrote it as well, based on that book. And it sticks incredibly close to the book, and if you can get hold of it, you're looking at a lot of money now.
It's like my friend, I jokingly mentioned him, a friend like Steve, and he says I don't have vinyl for listening to it, but my partner does. She's got quite a few ones like maybe a few soundtracks instead of going, oh, that's what I'll do. I'll collect vinyl, but it's solely like soundtracks. So I thought like Jaws is obviously a big one. You could get loads of really cool ones. Maybe just stick with the idea of it just being all horror. I said, any idea where I can get myself a copy of like The Shining original vinyl? They went, mate, you're talking big money. He says, if you get the like original pressing, I don't think they did a repressing or whatever. He says, you're talking ridiculous money. He says, if you ever see one reduced, let me know and I'll buy it off you as well. I'm just like, fuck.
What my
that's not going to happen for a while.
No, what my partner got her sister for a birthday one year was it was an original Alien, but it wasn't just it was Aliens, sorry. And it wasn't just the black one though. They did special ones. They used to start doing them.
Was it the Mondo ones?
I think it was. It was like bright green.
Oh, you've basically got to give up your firstborn type thing to be able to get those ones. You got to be sitting waiting up. Like, I've got to get up at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Make sure my computer's logged in. I've got my phone, my tablet, multi-screen in it, just to be able to sit and buy one thing.
Well, they've got it on their wall, and it's beautiful.
They do great stuff. And if anybody wants to donate any of that stuff for free from the people at Mondo, please drop us a message at Podcast in the Backseat.
What was that again?
At Podcast in the Backseat.
Excellent. Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, my dad, growing up, I'll never forget one of the vinyls he had was the original soundtrack to Halloween 2. Getting part 1's another one you just can't get it anywhere. He's still got part 2, which is cool. But I want part 1.
Well, the original. So, like, Season of the Witch goes a completely different route, and then 4. What's 4 called? Is it the Curse?
Curse of Michael Myers. Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, I'm sure it is. But what I quite like about the Halloween franchise is the tagline, because the first one's The Night He Came Home, part 2's still The Night He Came Home, part 3's got Season of the Witch, The Night Nobody Came Home. Oh, that's fucking cool. That's really cool. Because the way that ends is great. But again, as you mentioned, part 4 is a different shift as well, because all of a sudden it's well established that he goes after his family members for some reason, which they've done away with now.
You've got to.
18, yeah.
You don't get to pick your family. You only get to pick your friends. Are you really going, well, what happens if you choose to kill your family members? We're not suggesting anybody does it, but maybe Michael Myers was sent back in time in order to kill Laurie, because she's going to turn into be like the next Hitler, or I don't know, maybe some sort of
before
weird
she gives birth to Jamie, who becomes the next year. But yeah, all of a sudden your main character is a little girl even. So in part 1, where you're following Laurie, who's supposed to be 17, I think she was actually 19 when she played it in that, so she was still very young. You still you can relate as an adult almost as well, because we've all babysat. That might be a word, I don't know. But then all of a sudden you've got a very young girl being chased by, at this point, an indestructible killer. So you feel differently watching it. You're kind of more scared for her, and you want other people to help her rather than you want Laurie to turn the tables on Michael. Yeah. So you don't root for them to turn the tables. You root for Dr. Loomis to appear or something like that.
Mr. Pleasance himself. He's just a class act, isn't he?
He's a class act. But yeah, I mean, Halloween 3 was the one that jumped straight up. Arguably, Halloween 2018 for changing it back. Arguably, you could say.
I wouldn't argue against that. But yeah, it's bringing it back to form. Not to say the other ones aren't. It's bringing it back to sort of the sort of more closer to the genre.
Yeah. But
more so like it's sort of brought forward to today, in the fact that it just doesn't hold back. And I think that's what Carpenter said to the director and the writer. He just basically said, if you're going to do it, don't hold back, don't fuck around, fucking get him killing loads of people. That scene where he just walks into the house and just bumps off a load of people, and then it just stays with him, and he just walks back out of the house. Alright, I'm just gonna, it's like he's got a little shot of like messages he's gonna do for the day. Right, kill her, right. Oh yeah. Number 221. Yeah, we're gonna bump her off. And
it's brutal as well, like he stabs someone in the neck and then smashes their face off and kids are fair game in it as well. He kills that kid in the car, like which you've never seen him do yet. So all of a sudden he's all the rules are gone now. But the last one I want to touch on maybe for Halloween is Resurrection. That breaks the mold quite a bit.
It's the other one with Busta Rhymes, is it?
Yeah. It's again, we want to keep it positive. It's a movie that exists.
I'm familiar with Mr. Rhymes' work.
Yeah, but to see him as a fan of Bruce Lee kicking Michael Myers in the bollocks wasn't something I ever thought I would ever say on a podcast, to be honest. But yeah, it goes down because the time it came out, obviously, the whole Big Brother thing was huge. So that's kind of what they interjected into it.
Yeah, it's logical and it's of its time.
Yeah.
But then to a certain extent, if it's of its time, does that mean that it dates quite quickly after the fact?
Oh yeah. I watch it every year because I watch them all every year, and it's the one I look forward to least because it feels the most dated. Even Part 4, which is a very 80s film, I kind of enjoy because it's like a nice look back to the 80s rather than look at all these 80s references.
It's the aesthetic rather than what would have been happening at that time. But yeah, it's an interesting. In all honesty, I'll put my hand up. I've never watched it. I just knew of it, and sort of maybe I wanted to stay away from it because of certain reasons that we may have touched on. But yeah, we'll keep it positive. Anybody making a horror film, I'm on board with. So what other ones were you thinking off the top of your head? So we've got Alien, Terminator, we've got Halloween.
The big one.
What would you say next?
This is the huge one, which links kind of closely to Halloween. It's Friday the 13th.
I suppose you can't mention one without mentioning the other.
Yeah, that franchise is so, and we mentioned it very briefly before coming on. It's so kind of, and this sounds negative. It's not mixed up. Part 1 breaks the mold because it's actually the mother who's the killer, and I'm going to run through them quick because there's so many. Part 2 is Jason, but he doesn't have his mask. So Part 3 is where everyone remembers the hockey-wearing mask killer. Yet it's also a 3D movie. Fucking hell. Part 4 is the archetype, is the one everyone remembers. He's going after Corey Feldman. It's just pure Friday the 13th, what everybody wants. Part 5, the one just after it, it's not even Jason. Part 6, he all of a sudden becomes... I'm going off, I'm sorry. All of a sudden becomes supernatural because he comes from the grave for the very first time because you believed him to be kind of supernatural. He wasn't until then. Part 7's a normal one again, but it's got a psychic person in it. Part 8,
the person is in a location.
The person is in.
The killer has
mask.
a weapon and intent.
You can tell because he's eviscerating me right now.
He
goes to Manhattan. The fuck? It's a good movie. I like
that's
it.
the one that goes a musical number, doesn't it? I'm joking. I was just going to go on. Jason takes Manhattan. Jazz hands as he's fucking eviscerating somebody.
You are dead. The next one I think is Jason Goes to Hell, which again Jason's barely in it at all. He passes himself on by being a vomit turd. And then you've got Jason X. So in that entire,
call it Jason Sex.
Jason,
yeah,
right.
The porn parody.
am I right? And then, and then you've got obviously Freddy vs. Jason, which we will touch on. So when you think about it, what everyone remembers about that franchise is Part 4, because it's the only one that isn't in any way different from the rest of them.
Yeah,
but it is different because it's the only one. It's bizarre. Friday the 13th on paper shouldn't work, but it's incredible.
It's fun. It's got a death curse, is what it's got.
It's got a death curse.
It's got a death curse. What?
Turn back while you still can.
I do you know why I've got like a gangster voice in my head whenever he said it.
Turn back,
got
see?
a death curse, see? Yeah.
Ain't nobody gonna kill you but me, see? And maybe Jason too, see? Go back.
Turns out it's a ma, but nobody believes him because he's gone.
I wanted to blast through Friday the 13th because we could honestly do a whole thing on it. That one I think is only interesting because the standout film, technically is all of them, is Part 4 because that's the one that everybody remembers the franchise to be, when in fact it's only that one, which is quite weird. Yeah. But yeah, that's interesting. If you've got any other suggestions as well, or
the ones off the top of my head, like Phantasm. My good friend Dave, if he's listening, hello.
I love you. I don't know who you are, but I love you anyway.
I'm inside you. But yeah, Phantasm, because Phantasm is one of those ones where it's like creepy sort of urban legend type one. Ice cream van, Reggie Bannister, a bit of folk music, some creepy little kid that doesn't talk to very many people, but he likes his big brother. Balls of Death. Makes me think of like a fucked up version. It was a board game that was released in the UK, not in America, called Screwball Scramble. They press loads of buttons. You've got to get this ball bearing from one part of the maze to the other, like rickety bridges and jumps and all that stuff. Anyway, but yeah, it's like a fucked up version of that. And then so it's very. It plays it pretty straight laced, the first one, and then the second one kind of goes in a more kind of fun and more out without trying to sound a little bit groovy. Far Out Man, and I think it just kind of runs with it. So like the first one's kind of like straight po face, and then the second one just kind of goes more fun. Because I think the original came out in the 70s.
Yeah.
Maybe late 70s, early 80s. But it's got like almost sort of dreamlike quality, and then the other ones kind of go more fun with it. Yeah. Not to say the original's not fun. I think the first one's very.
Yeah,
I don't know what I'm doing. What exactly I'm trying to convey here. I'm with me not being a wordsmith. But it's just very straight faced, no fucking about, but still fun. And then the second one kind of just goes more fun with it.
Yeah, it's very Evil Dead syndrome, where the first one was.
Yeah. It's even like quite a lot of dark comedy, I think, in the second and like the subsequent sequels, etc. Like it gets more farcical because I think you got like 3 shotguns or a couple of shotguns welded together.
yeah. On part 3, is that? No, that's part 2 as well, where he gets the quadruple barrel shotgun.
Yeah, and it's and I think I enjoy them because each one's a different entity, but they still follow the format that it's the tall man, Angus Scrim, who's fucking brilliant in it, boy.
Boy, he gets 4 lines in the first movie, That's
all he needs.
Yeah, one of those, two of those is boy.
Boy. What's my motivation? You're trying to kill a little boy. He's rumbled, you see. Yeah. You've got little Jawas trying to steal people's bodies and take them off in another dimension, boy. But yeah, that's the idea. It goes for that one. What you got? 4 lines. You're gonna get paid so many thousands of dollars to say this one. You're gonna go around driving a hearse.
Oh, he's a class act though, is Angus.
Oh, he's brilliant. Absolutely, just a voice, man. That's all you need. He's just like a bit of a creepy old grandpa.
He raises his eyebrow as well a little bit. It's like the funeral is in the other. I can't remember, in the parlor or something he says. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just sort of fun. So I really enjoyed Phantasm. That was one of them. And the other one was like House of a Thousand Corpses.
Yeah. Like
the Rob Zombie trilogy. With like the Firefly family. Like obviously the first one's more kind of like brightly coloured. And then the second one kind of goes more kind of like folk villains, anti-hero type people. They're bad bastards.
Yeah.
You kind of like them. You kind of want them to outrun like William Forsythe, who plays like the fucking crooked cop.
Awful guy. Yeah.
There was a video game. I don't know if you remember this. Sorry to go off on a tangent again. It was called Blood 2: The Chosen, and it was this ridiculous first-person shooter. And somebody described the game of the classic tale of evil versus lesser evil. And I feel as though that's what it is.
Yeah.
Like the Firefly family are evil. They're not nice people, and he's got some sort of smell on his gun. And he's there to do the devil's work, but the other guy's just more horrible, so you're kind of rooting for the bad guys.
Yeah.
And then the third one goes a completely different route. Again, it's almost like Jason Goes to Hell. It goes down the kind of more paranormal route.
Does it? I need to see 3 from Hell. I keep getting put off a mutual friend of ours.
Yeah. Snake. He'd probably see that as a positive, wouldn't he?
Probably.
The Snake. Oh, thank you very much.
Snake. But no, I'll have to check it out because I actually quite enjoy a lot of Rob Zombie films. I criticise him a bit because of Halloween, but he's got his own style and that's great.
Yeah, it's got this very like tangible aesthetic. It's very gritty and grimy, and it's like almost like feel as though if you were filming it, you would be quite sweaty all the time, or it'd be very sort of like greasy and everything else. You'd have to constantly sanitize your hands, be going. gonna go off and kill some
Sherry
people. I'm gonna
zombies
go have a
around.
shower again because you know what, I'm dead sticky again.
Yeah.
But he does have this very, very cool aesthetic that he brings to movies.
Yeah.
Regardless as to what anybody says about his movies, you can tell immediately that's a Robert Zombie movie.
I hear Esquire, but no, I hear he's in the work to do another major remake. I think it might be Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I might be wrong. If anybody
I know
could
the
do
filmed
that justice, it would be him though. Because he's kind of like if Tarantino had done Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like that's the kind of aesthetic that you get. And
Yeah.
he's a big fan of Tarantino, fairly obviously. You can tell with his dialogue. But I'm looking forward to that. And you're absolutely right. House of a Thousand Corpses to Devil's Rejects, because they're the only two I've ever seen. Very different styles, but good in their own way. I sadly watched it out of order because I went to see it, the cinema Devil's
I
Rejects.
think I did the same, you know.
Yeah, it honestly.
But what's
doesn't
quite
matter,
good about
I
them
think.
is you don't have to have seen one to enjoy two.
Exactly.
They're films in their own right, but you can also put them together and watch them as say like a double bill or even a trilogy if you decide to watch the third one.
And that end scene where they're playing Freebird and get shot to shit by
That's
the
brilliant.
police.
That's
It's
really
so
good. It's really clever.
Such a good. I don't know how they get out of it. That's why I'm dying to see part 3 to a degree, but I will watch.
I think my understanding is they don't.
Oh really? Oh no, I'll have to check it out.
You know what? Turns out all their heads and bodies. Turns out bullets don't kill them. He got shot. He got shot in the face 57 times and didn't die. Makes me think of Father Ted. And they're going, "Oh, do you remember that fella that shot himself in the head with a shotgun and survived?" And you're going, "Dougal, he didn't." Or do you remember that fella that what was his name? Versace. He was so good at fashion they had to shoot him.
God.
But yeah, they go, how did he survive? Dougal, no, he didn't. He didn't survive. Other ones I was thinking off the top of my head, Blair Witch 1 and 2.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Because Blair Witch 1, obviously, is a found footage film, and then Blair Witch 2, Book of Shadows, I think it's called, the Book of Shadows.
Yeah.
Only the shadow knows. But yeah, the sequel basically admits or is outside of that, and it's aware that it's a movie.
Yeah.
But they also start pulling the thread as to where it comes from, etc. And I love, there's a couple of movies where they asked the cast or the director about what they think about how the movie was going to go, and then their honest thoughts afterwards. And it's like Blair Witch 2, and I'm not being negative, I've never watched it. I know there's a bit where like an owl flies in through the window and scares the shit out of everybody.
Yeah.
It's got that guy, is it Jeremy or Jeffrey Donovan in it, who ended up being in Burn Notice with Bruce Campbell.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's sort of like, I think it's got a bit of a cult following now as well. So he's like, oh, people are going to love this movie, they're going to absolutely love this movie, and they're going, people absolutely hated this movie. And then they asked Eddie Murphy for doing Beverly Hills Cop 3. They're going, oh, but you know what, people are going to love this film, it's going to be better than the first two. And then they're going, I did it for the money. They drove a truckload of money up to my house, I took it, we filmed the film, and people hated it. But you know what, I don't care, because I got a fuckload of money for doing it. There's a couple of other ones. Oh, they're going to love this movie. I hated it.
Twilight, probably, with what's his face.
But it made a fortune, and then it thus spawned the phenomenal 50 Shades movies. Oh no.
No. But no, that's an odd thing with Blair Witch, because as you mentioned, there's Book of Shadows, so there's Blair Witch 1, 2, and then they did another. It's not even a remake; it is a sequel to the original one. Completely.
Adam Wingard, who just
2.
recently did Kong vs Godzilla.
Was that who? Because I actually quite liked the 2018. Isn't 2018 Blair Witch? It was quite good.
Everything's 2018. All I know is a Halloween sequel came out in 2018, and everything else also came out in 2018.
That was the last good year. Jeez. But
any other ones?
I've got loads, and I'm aware of the time, so I'm going to stick with like the big ones for now.
Okay.
In fact, I might touch upon one more, technically two, which is the Nightmare series. So New Nightmare. Because the Nightmare series goes through a couple of changes. Obviously, you've got the original one. The second one kind of sits closely, but it's got a male protagonist. He has to get them to do some of the killing. It doesn't technically break the mold. It gets more humorous by Freddy's Dead, but then you've got New Nightmare, which is completely different, and that's the big change.
Yeah,
you've got
because it's like 1 and 2 straight up, like horror, and he's inside you and he's in your head and in your dreams and everything else, and then 3, it goes more kind of not farcical, but it goes more out there because it's a Dream Warriors is the third one. You reintroduce the protagonist from the first one, and she's now helping other people, and then like 3's loads of fun. And I think that's the difference. Yeah. It's like even in our open intro, which you put together, thank you very much, where it's like welcome to prime time, and then he just basically slam dunks her head into his own TV face, and she then is just hanging by her neck in her fucking closet. That's from basketball, isn't it?
Oh yeah, no, I'm sure I mentioned on an earlier episode that for me in Freddy's evolution is the turning point where he become a bit more humorous. Because there's a bit before that where he makes a marionette puppet out of someone, which is the most painful looking. He's enjoying himself, but he's not quipping. Yeah, if you know what I mean. Like, it's horrible.
That one's pretty bad. What's the other one I was thinking of? The one that we mentioned beforehand, which is in 2. I think maybe that for me was the bit where he's like a fucked up James Bond. I'll put it that way. In my head, Freddy Krueger is a fucked up James Bond. He's like, kill the person and say the quip afterwards.
It's true.
Welcome
nice
to Prime.
Seeing you, Carlos. No, nice hearing from you because he's deaf. Like, you know, you haven't just killed him; you've made fun of his impediment as well. Impairment, sorry.
But that's what it is. He's a fucked up James Bond. Do it to go kill the man. Say the funny line. Or say the funny line and kill the man. It goes on to like even Arnie does it in like Total Recall.
Oh,
see at the party Richter, and he's holding his fucking arms hanging off a lift, going into some bit of some hidden tomb in a Martian morgue, fucking temple. Whatever the fuck that is.
Is it part 3 again with that lass who's got injections in her arms because she used to be a junkie or something? He doesn't let that go. No, he doesn't. He's like, let's get high. Stabs her, gets high off it, and he's like, what a rush. It's like, Freddy, I like you, but Jesus. But yeah, no,
it's a bit on the news, isn't it?
A bit on the news. Yeah. But no, New Nightmare takes away all of the humour almost as well. Like he does, he enjoys himself a little bit, but he's not talking to an audience anymore because Freddy's now in your world all of a sudden. So I think at one point to Dylan is the kid, I'm sure, he makes a joke about have you ever played Skin the Cat? And then skins his babysitter in front of him. It's like all of a sudden Freddy's like a lot darker. He's not Robert Englund, but he's still played by Robert Englund, obviously. And the fact the director's in it, the actors are playing themselves while playing Nancy. John Saxon's in it playing her dad, not her dad. It's a good film.
Yeah, it's the one I haven't revisited because it's the one that terrified me the most because I kind of knew about it and then going, alright, so they're addressing the fact that Freddy is in movies, but he's then somehow intruding on in the real world. It's like what was it? Have you seen The Autopsy of Jane Doe?
No, I heard good things though.
That's really good. If you get a chance to watch it, I think he's like a Scandi director. It's really, really good with Emile Hirsch and Brian Cox in it. It's quite a sort of intimate sort of story. It's really fucking clever. I don't know why I was going to basically sort of with enough people watching it and enjoying it and everything else, did that then almost summon Freddy into the real world? Like if enough people believe him, it's almost like mass hysteria. Does that then make him real? But yeah,
because that's the story, so isn't it? Like he apparently, I'm sure it was Wes Craven. The way he kind of describes it is he needed to tell those stories to keep him at bay, almost. Yeah. So they created the Freddy franchise to keep this dream demon at bay. So the real hero is Wes Craven. I'm on board.
I did, definitely.
He ruined sleep for everyone. The Snick.
He fucking did. Oh, you know what people like? Sleeping. how can I fuck
can't-
with that?
You can't swim because Jaws will get you. You can't sleep because fucking Freddy will get you. Can't go camping. Son of a bitch.
Because you get some fella with a sack over his head gets his Ma, they bullied us. They chucked us in the water. I don't like swimming. And then Mark goes off and fucking kills everybody. Kills Kevin Bacon. Kevin fucking Bacon.
Good. He's aight.
Oh, what
But yeah,
did I watch with somebody? It was some TV show where they describe Footloose, where Kevin Bacon's the villain. All those dancing kids turn up at the country town and try and ruin everybody's good time. And they're going, what? You see Footloose as the dancing kids are the villains? What the fuck?
I'm probably going to have to cut this one a little bit shorter just because I'm getting messages. I'll leave this in.
Fine.
So we might make this a two-parter. If
Oh,
that's
definitely.
cool.
I totally agree. Because there's absolutely loads. I've got a bunch of other ones. So I'm like a quarter of the way through my list.
Same. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know if you got any final thoughts because I'm probably going to have to run off.
No. I think the ones we've covered, they do go a different route and kind of like they differentiate themselves really, really well. Because what you don't, I suppose you have to. To a certain extent, you can't just have the same film again and again. Otherwise, it just becomes boring and monotonous. You need to add a different element to try and make it more interesting.
And all of the that we mentioned.
There's loads of them.
Yeah.
If there's any ones we have missed, yeah, you've read my mind.
We're the same, you and I.
We're basically the same person. I don't know why I did that voice.
But yeah, drop us a message on the Instagram at Podcast in the Backseat. We'd love to know your thoughts on what we've mentioned. If you've got any that we've not mentioned, we might even give you a shout out if you're lucky enough. Wish upon that star.
Hopefully we don't go on to kill a lot of people and then it's like, oh, I mentioned you've been implicated
again
in a string of stranglings because they mention you get called into the principal's office or the police station downtown. It's always downtown because you get mentioned in a podcast. But yeah, I think should we park it now and then we come back and we'll do this as a 2, possibly 3-parter. It could be a trilogy.
Yeah, depending on how.
And
it can be different on the third time. It can be a different format.
I got a little bit of rice. Did you also get a nipple on? Just
Usually.
thinking about this being a trilogy episode.
Oh yeah.
It's a 3-parter.
Yeah, I would thank you all very, very much for listening. Do tune in next time. Do add a subscription because you don't want to miss one of these sweet episodes. Add our
so sweet.
So sweet. At our Instagram at Podcast in the Backseat. I say, sir. Podcast in the Backseat.
Oh, okay, foghorn leghorn.
I'll see, sir. But yeah, thank you very much for joining us. Tune in next time. I've been Matthew Hutton.
And I've been Wayne Alexander. Enjoy your stomach pounder and coke.
Oh, I will.